Stop talking about American things and let's watch the best film ever made.
Welcome to America's Strongest Man, where the toughest, mightiest titan...
Have you taped over The Spy Who Loved Me with America's Strongest Man?
No, I haven't. It was Terry. I'll give him the tape. He's done it. It's his fault.
I'm really sorry. I really wanted to see America's Strongest Man.
Well, now you've got Norfolk's maddest man. I wanted to watch Roger Moore necking with Fiona Fullerton. But instead I have to watch a giant Michael Bolton look-alike in a tight vest throwing an oven over bales of hay.
The Spy Who Loved Me is a brilliant film. It began in forest in Germany.
It's Austria! Austria!
It's the one where the laser beam goes up his jacket.
Goldfinger!
What's the one with the volcano and it splits up and a big rocket comes out and there's all chinkies jumping down? Isn't that Thunderball?
No, stop getting Bond wrong! I'll tell you about The Spy Who Loved Me. All do that with your fingers round your eye. I'm Roger Moore. Bang! Blood dribbles down. We're on a submarine. Two sailors sit down and have a game of chess. And the cups start wobbling, and then a man who used to be in the Needham line comes in and goes, "Why are the cups wobbling? What's going on?" And then you can stop doing that now. And then he pulls down the periscope thing, looks through it and goes, "Oh my God, the submarine's being eaten by a giant tanker." And then we cut to Moscow, and there's a man there, and he's Russian, he's got eyebrows, you know. And he's on the phone going, "What, a whole submarine? You're joking! I'm going to have to tell some other Russians. See ya!" And then it cuts to James, Roger Moore, and yes, he's with a lady. yeah. He's necking with her. Right, and he goes, "I've got to go, love. Something's come up."
He means his cock.
Yeah. Anyway, then he puts on his underpants and his ski suit and he gets on his skis and he starts skiing. And he's being chased by these Russian shits in black jumpsuits with lemon piping. And he's just skiing along like that, and they start shooting at him, and he goes, "Right, I've had enough of that, just stop it!" And he turns around with this gun, and then he does a backward somersault off this ramp, and he lands on his feet. I'm not sure why, but he's not showing off. And then he goes over a cliff, and he's falling, and you think, "Oh, God, James Bond's going to die, he's going to die!" But then, at the last minute...
He pulls a ripcord, right, and a parachute comes out, and it's got a Union Jack on it.
Michael!
That's how it ends!
That's not the end of the beginning. The end of the beginning goes like this. Glang, glang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang. Glang-a-lang, lang-a-lang-a-lang. Nobody does it better. And I'm a naked woman in silhouette with a gun, spinning round. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it. Oh, bit of nipple.
You know, some say that we Bond fans tend to get a tiny bit passionate when it comes to talking about the Bond films. Maybe it holds some merit. I mean, we know each Bond film inside out and we're quite proud of it too. One of the staples of a Bond film is the pre-title sequence. Pretty much every Bond film would open up with a gun barrel, followed by a short, usually action-packed opening to get you pumped to see the rest of the movie. It's a signature that we Bond fans come to expect from a Bond film, and we certainly wouldn't want to see it being done any other way. It's part of a Bond film's DNA. Usually these first minutes of the film are used to get the first bits of the plot going, while at other times the pre-title sequence is just a standalone mini-adventure. But no matter how it's presented, what makes a good pre-title sequence to a Bond movie for me, it's when the opening manages to fully hook me and get me pumped and excited to see the rest of the movie by the time we reach the actual opening credits. And that's when you'll see us Bond fans describe these scenes with all this passion. Because we love these openings, we love these movies, and there's a lot of Bond movies which manage to perfectly convey this. And in today's video, I'll show you the 10 Bond films that, in my opinion, do that the best. My honorable mention goes to License to Kill, which has a great pre-title sequence in my opinion. The plane grabbing mid-air with Michael Caine's laugh and Bond score blazing out just gives it such a great feeling. And of course it inspired Christopher Nolan for his opening of The Dark Knight Rises. It also features one of the most brutal villain introductions, with Fran Sanchez whipping Loopy around and ordering his men to cut out the heart of the guys he's sleeping around with. And of course, the parachuting down into the wedding just before we move into the credits is a fantastic opening, and I regret not being able to include it on my list, but there's just so many pre-title sequences to choose from, so this one really barely missed out. But if there's one pre-title sequence that does not get me pumped to see the movie, it's the one in Diamonds Are Forever. Right from the get-go, this one is just immediately so weird. The mousetrap inside of Bond's jacket, the weird stuff of Blofeld making clones of himself, and the big payoff being Blofeld being pushed into a big pile of crap. Whoopie-doo. It's all just so underwhelming. I'll give it Bond's badass bikini strangling moment though. I always loved GoldenEye's pre-title sequence. The bungee jump from the dam is still one of the most impressive, breathtaking stunts ever performed in a Bond film. At the same time, we all know that this one is not without its flaws, like how Bond makes his way down a dam, all the way down a Russian facility, and yet ends up all the way on the top of a snowy mountain when he exits again. The jump with the motorcycle gliding towards the falling plane is also pretty outlandish and throws away all the believability, yet it does manage to get you pumped to see the rest of the movie. With the bungee jump alone, this one just deserves to be on the list. The opening of Goldfinger is an all-time classic. When has Bond ever looked more badass than Connery does, casually strolling into the place, lighting his cigarette after just placing some explosives? Admit it, gentlemen, we all try to emulate being just as cool as Connery when we enter a bar. This was the first example of a pre-title sequence that had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Director Guy Hamilton described it as a wonderful piece of nonsense, and it just invites you to join in on the fun. Bond comes disguised in a wetsuit with a duck on his head, casually places some explosives in a heroin factory, proceeds by taking off his wetsuit to reveal a white tuxedo in mint condition. These were the 60s, it was fun, it was classy, and it was exciting. Connery just oozes sexiness. The chicks are swooning for him, and you can't really blame him, even if that results in them being used as a shield.
Shocking. Positively shocking.
I really like the pre-title sequences to both of Dalton's films, and this one in particular always feels so fresh coming after the Roger Moore era. Maybe it's because this marked the first instance in the series that Bond actually got younger, and I can't really picture Roger Moore jumping out of that plane as a 60-year-old. I always liked the premise of the Double O's being on a routine training exercise taking place on the Rock of Gibraltar. And that first dramatic reveal of Dalton is done so well, it still gets me every time. It was a great way to introduce a new Bond actor. This was also the last movie scored by the amazing John Barry, and man does this one have a great soundtrack straight from this opening. Within the first minutes of this movie we're giving a nice glimpse at what Dalton's Bond is all about. He's professional, ruthless, daring and businesslike. I think this film to me felt like a first soft reboot to the series that was well needed at that particular point, and this opening was the perfect kickstarter for that. Much like Goldfinger, Octopussy has a cool little mini adventure for its pre-title sequence, and we all know that that tiny little jet is the big star to it all. Which man wouldn't want to have a jet like that to fly over to work in the morning? This whole sequence is just so much fun, set in the same vein as Goldfinger, just having a lot of fun with a wonderful piece of nonsense. Jackets are turning into uniforms, a hot chick distracting the soldiers, a horsebot revealing a mini jet with a badass Dutch flag on the side, and of course the action is ramped up to the standard of the 80s, so we have to have a big missile following the jet and a major explosion blowing up the bad guys inside the hangar. And it all just works so well. This is a fantastic way to start a Bond movie. And who could forget the classic moment of Bond casually making his landing near an old gas station.
Fill her up, please.
Stop! It isn't finished! Don't!
There are two major highlights to the pre-title sequence of The World Is Not Enough. The boat chase on the Thames and the figures of the Cigar Girl.
Oh, I'm sure they're perfectly rounding.
The World Is Not Enough still holds the record for having the longest pre-title sequence to this date. As I mentioned before, the filmmakers originally planned to end it right after Bond's window jump in Bilbo and jump straight into the titles there. But since we were already used to action-packed openings by the late 90s, director Michael Apted decided to extend the pre-title sequence and include the boat chase as being part of the whole opening. And rightly so. It wouldn't have made the list had it just been the one jump. Look at GoldenEye if you want to see a proper bungee jump opening. The boat chase does a fantastic job in pumping you up for the movie ahead, and David Arnold's fantastic score only adds to that. The scene has a perfect combination of putting you on the edge of your seat while also having you laugh along with it. This opening is just a lot of fun.
Well, you needn't worry. The second is... Yes. Considerably.
Casino Royale has a very different and unique pre-title sequence. It's black and white, it's moody, quiet, it has a brutal fight along with a sudden kill. It showcases how Bond became a 00 agent. Immediately from Bond's very first word uttered, I'm always immediately hooked. We can tell that this Bond means business, and that we're in for something completely new within the next hours. You also have to love the little details that are put into this scene, like when Bond shoots Dryden, for just a tiny frame his family is seen on a picture frame, reminding us that Bond didn't just kill a guy, but a person with an actual life. It's so subtle, it's in a blink it and you miss it type of speed. I probably only found out about it last year, but I love those little details. The final gunshot moving into the gun barrel still gives me the chills.
Filthy habit.
Tomorrow Never Dies has one of the best action-packed pre-title sequences in the whole series. It's just so much fun, it's so exciting, it does what a great Bond opening scene should do. Hook you within the first seconds and hold you there. The premise is quite simple. Bond is at an arms bazaar and the British are about to blow it up with a ballistic missile. But it turns out that there are nuclear warheads aboard of the fighter jets, and the missile can't be destroyed anymore, so cue the recipe to a perfect action-packed 90s opening. Once again, David Arnold's score is fantastic, Brosnan is spot on, and it has an exciting dogfight. This is all just great. You also gotta love the moment where the folks at MI6 are all concerned that Bond has died in the explosion, and Bond just casually reports in.
White Knight to White Rook. I've evacuated the area. Ask the Admiral where he'd like his bombs delivered.
it, Bond. Take the bloody shot.
Skyfall had a brilliant pre-title sequence that is full of a diverse series of action-packed moments. There's so much to praise this opening for. This scene goes from Bond on foot, to a shootout, to a motorcycle chase on the rooftops, to a fight in a train, and in a crane, to on top of the train. It has an amazing cinematography, and a great fight with Bond and Patrice, and a lovely anticlimactic ending of Bond getting shot by accident. We all know Bond didn't actually die. We all know the movie is only beginning, but we can all feel that sniper shot. It leaves you off guard and in shock. And you really have to hand it to Sam Mendes with this opening, because you can't help but be intrigued by what is going to happen within the next hours of this movie.
Agent down.
Yes, we all know why this is so high up on the list. Bond leaping into the abyss, falling to his doom and revealing the Union Jacket parachute still probably is the most iconic stunt in the series. And that pretty much single-handedly makes this entire pre-title sequence. Sure, of course there's also the story elements of the submarine going missing, Bond making out with some chick in a cabin high in the Alps, signaling that something has come up.
He means his cock.
The ski scene itself has always been my favorite one in the series. I don't know if it's because of Roger's more strikingly yellow ski suit, his hidden gun, the backward somersault, but I do know that the stunt in the end is still unrivaled. This is still so ridiculously cool, it doesn't just pump you up for the rest of the movie, it puts a bright smile on your face that leaves you so insanely proud to be a Bond fan. And when you listen to the incredible stories of people that were there in the cinema in 1977, that smile only solidifies.
I have never seen a reaction in the cinema as there was that night. You couldn't help it. You could not help but stand up. Even Prince Charles stood up.
Bond then became a national treasure.
Bond's latest adventure, Inspector, in my opinion, had the inclusion of the greatest pre-title sequence yet. First off, the setting of the Day of the Dead in Mexico is great, but the camera work and seemingly one-take camera shot following Bond for nearly 5 minutes is so inventive, so different. I loved it from the first time I saw it, and I still think it's amazing. Sure, I know clever camera tricks are used and that it's not all actually done in one take. I can spot where the cuts are made and such, but it's so seamless and smooth that it does actually feel that we've been following Bond all the way from walking with that chick to his hotel room up until he's about to fire his gun to Skiara in the other building. I love this whole setting, the flirting with the girl, the casual clothes swap and the leap out of the window. Putting together his gun in such casual fashion, he makes it seem like he's just doing an everyday chore, like checking his email while he's strolling through the mall. Craig just looks the absolute business doing this. The scene doesn't end here. The building collapses, there's a foot chase, the big helicopter fight, the amazing stunt work, and of course the discovery of the Spectre ring, getting you intrigued to see the rest of the movie. And regardless of how you feel about the rest of the actual movie, this was a pre-title sequence executed so perfectly, it instantly became a favorite of mine. And having just re-evaluated all the pre-title sequences for this video, I still have to admit that I think Spectre simply, truly deserves this spot on my list. I can only hope that Bond 25 will treat us with such a great opening once again. So, that's my top 10 pre-title sequences. How did you like my ranking and how would you rank them yourself? Please share your thoughts and comments below. And also be sure to subscribe and click that little bell icon so that you're always made aware of my latest content coming up to the channel. Are you a fan of my work and you just can't wait for other episodes or content to come up to the channel? Well, you can now join the DBF community on my Patreon page. Supporting my channel grants you access to all my latest videos 2 weeks before the regular viewers get to see it. Your name will also be included on the Supporter Hall of Fame, and you get the vote for the new content. And as a bonus for signing up, you will receive a personal thank you video from me, as well as these custom Blu-ray covers that I designed myself. These will all be received by email immediately, so you can pop them out of your printer and put them in empty Blu-ray covers to have your own DBF Blu-ray collection on your shelf. All support for giving back to my channel is appreciated immensely. You can find the link in the description and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot, guys.